there was a point whereby we couldn't really find sufficient sponsors to hold the event. We were given two choices. Either we close this off completely or we actually postpone it, right? Both of which are not possible because the people who signed up to organize this, they wanted to get it done. Then I had to make a call of whether to actually continue this or basically just shut it down.
Welcome to Agile Leaders Conversations. This is a podcast where we invite human-centered professionals and leaders to share what it means to lead in today's workplaces. From their personal stories, find out their greatest learning that guides them through disruption and forge a better way forward. Their insights will maximize your leadership potential and unlock possibilities for a better future. My name is Chuen Chuen. I'm the author of Leaders People Love, a guide for agile leaders to creating great workplaces and happy employees. I'm delighted to have you listen in today. My guest today is Mr. Felix Ling. He's an undergraduate in the National University of Singapore, or in short, NUS. Felix is the president of the NUS Entrepreneurship Society, and their mission is to drive initiatives that fosters entrepreneurship by building strategic partnerships. Felix is passionate about entrepreneurship that drives impact. Welcome to the show, Felix. It's so good to have you today. And let's start with the first question. Tell us about yourself, your name, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Thank you for having me for the show. My name is Felix and currently a second-year student in NUS doing business, especially in finance. Also in a special program in NUS College, whereby I actually learn a breadth of humanities subjects. It's an interdisciplinary program called the NUS College. Apart from that, I'm also the president of NUS Entrepreneurship Society. We are a student independent organization that actually drives initiatives that foster entrepreneurship. This range from hackathons, conferences, networking events. And also, I would say I'm pretty involved in the startup ecosystem as well. Been on an overseas internship in Jakarta, would be heading in Silicon Valley next year for a year-long internship, likely to be in a VC or an AI technological kind of startup. Personality-wise, I would say I like meeting people, having meaningful conversations, understanding their motivations, and maybe figuring out how I can best live my life.
Figuring out how you can best live your life, and like many young people preparing, it's like taking this last stretch of formal education as the preparation for life, right? And trying to
Yes.
answer this big question, what do I really want in my life? How can I construct the most meaningful and purposeful life? And today you can see Felix, he's so committed, working on a hackathon, showing up for the podcast, to which I'm very appreciative. I feel the Gen Zs are going to change the workplace in a massive way. And just before we started recording, we were already chit-chatting about what are the things that are important to the youths today. And we must understand what they bring to the table. And you can hear from Felix's personal experience, so vibrant. And compared to the time where I was studying, there we only one job, which is to study. And now it's so diverse, with abundance of opportunities, which I think there is also a chance that there's a diversity in talents, diversity in experiences. So having the young leaders join the workforce, it will definitely shape organizations in unexpected ways. For audiences' benefit, Felix is currently in NUS. NUS represents National University of Singapore. NUS is currently one of the top 10 universities in the world. So it's really a pleasure to have you on the show today. So Felix, when you think about a leader people will love, who's the first person that comes to your mind?
I would say Robert Iger, the CEO of Walt Disney, because I was actually inspired by his book. I read his book. I learned a lot about management and leadership, and that's something that my leadership model based on. Some key things that I learned, I think people are what makes an organization. They're the organization's biggest asset. And it's important to actually create a culture where people are encouraged and empowered to perform at their best. And that's something I actively try to do. And being a people-oriented leader, understanding people's needs, having empathy, while balancing the state and strategic goals of the organization is important as well. But ultimately, an organization is there to actually drive a certain initiative that empowers the community. And I think building a culture is something that many leaders may actually overlook because they're so driven on the organizational objective, encouraging people to speak out, encouraging innovation, things like that. I learned a lot on how I can build a culture and also how I can strike a balance between managing people and also the organizational goals.
So in your experience then heading the NUS Entrepreneurship Society, earlier you spoke about the importance of building the culture where people dare to speak up, people dare to offer ideas. So based on your experience, how did you build that culture?
Okay. One thing I realized right over my time here is that we are all students. Ultimately, we're volunteers. We actually want to put in our time, burn our Saturday and Sundays to actually do something. Why would you do that, right? It's simply because you want to achieve certain goals. So my value proposition for people who could join us, right, was really you're here to build something you're proud of. You're here to take ownership on initiatives. And what we do, we provide a platform opportunity for that to manifest, for you to gain exposure into the startup ecosystem, for you to meet entrepreneurs, get inspired, and more important, a community of people who have the same interest as you. The main point of everything, taking ownership, building something you're proud of.
Yeah, taking ownership. And that's where the lessons of becoming a persuasive leader, right? Trying to pitch an idea or mobilize a large group of people towards a certain direction. I can really see it has set in. Definitely there is empathy. There is also a deep understanding of who you are working with and what you want to achieve as a society. And the way you have positioned that collective vision such that there's something for them to gain. There is the pride involved. We are here to build something we are proud of. Also bringing in collaboration. If you set out a vision that is just for the individuals, it's very easy to have competition.
Yeah.
I'm just here. I just want to take as much as possible from this experience, and I don't really care about anything else. So what I like in the way you have communicated the culture you want to build, there is coming together as a group. There's respect of each other's time, because as undergraduates, time is a scarce resource. And let's make full use of the time we have together. This is a platform of opportunities. There's a lot of common ground there. And there's also a clear articulation of what kind of people you're looking for. So far, the people you attract is quite spot on.
Yeah, most of them here are very motivated. And one thing I also said to people at the very start when recruiting, we're not simply an organization who just explore interest. We're here to do things that are very real because we organize events that engages other stakeholders, right? It's not simply just a student club whereby there's no commitment. Commitment is important because it drives impact. And the work we do here has tangible impacts on the world, on the people around us. So that's something I pitch, professionalism, and think of us more of a student-led non-profit organization rather than just simply a student club.
Yeah. So the expectation of professionalism is the same, and the commitment is the same, right? We are here to do things very real. They are real. We are not just doing things in the school, which is different. Okay, there's a lot of labels people put on youths today. Of course, it is natural because we are trying to understand what Gen Zs want, what young people want. What do you think are key understandings about the Gen Zs that everyone, every corporate, every person in the ecosystem must know?
People may think that it's hard to retain Gen Zs in corporations because we tend to jump ship to try different things out. I think one thing that needs to be understood is that while we are doing that, we are also adding value to a certain sense to companies because we bring forth diverse perspective and experiences from other companies, other places. And it's important to acknowledge that the current phenomenon of Gen Zs going to different companies in a short period of time, maybe it's better to actually work towards it and see how they can extract the most values from these Gen Zs.
Very nice. I'm hearing a few things that worth calling them. So first is we jump ship because we like the thrill, right? And when we jump ship, we are not disrupting the organization. We are adding value. It all boils down to how organizations want to see it. Because when I coach senior leaders, they always say, oh, attrition is very high. But it's actually not attrition. The way you describe it just now, it is not attrition. It is not a bad thing. It is a renewal.
It's renewal, dynamic grows and becomes better.
Yes, it's a dynamic growth and it's natural. So how we pass the baton makes a big difference.
And perhaps what company can focus on is the continuity system process and how more effectively they can pass the baton to the next person rather than the person leaving.
Yeah. So focus on building a strong continuity system so that the knowledge and the experience is transferred. Based on what you have observed, what works? What did the employer do to make it work so that there's no break?
I would say definitely there'll be break, but the question is how long would that break be and how impactful it to the operation. When I actually went for the internship, one of the employees was leaving. So I only had a matter of days to actually cover his role and have to learn things in a very short span of time. It stems from the culture the company is trying to build and the type of people they're trying to hire. If you look for traits of proactiveness, people who are here to make an impact, people who are here to build and grow themselves, these people, just simply because by virtue of their character and personality, they can actually pick up things very fast. And then one thing about Gen Z is that we pick up things very fast, we learn very fast. It's something that people may actually overlook, and that's a huge strength and trait. Perhaps what company could focus more on is prepare a set of SOP such that when a person is going to leave, he has a handover process that's able to pass it to the next person in a more succinct and clear manner.
I like you mentioned succinct, very important. Yes, and it takes two hands to clap, right? For the young leaders joining the workforce, the proactiveness in asking the right questions, getting the right help, figuring out who to ask and what to ask them. And what organizations can do is to be realistic that yes, there will be a slight break, but how long will it be? How long? It depends on the continuity system you build and the
Yes.
handover process and
Yes.
how robust and succinct your SOP is.
Yes, and to add on to that, I feel that's just a part of innovation. And one thing that I learned from the book I mentioned, Robert Eagle, is that in this 20th century where things are going so fast with AI and technology, things are gonna change a lot, and it's either you innovate or you die. And that's the same for talents. While it's very fast paced, it ensures growth, and the company innovate through that.
Yeah. So we don't just look at engaging talents, retaining them. We also want to build very nimble organizations that can tap on the best of this workforce. Because I honestly don't hear as much conversations about building continuity system. Most people will talk about how can I engage, how can I retain. Everyone is thinking about how can I hold on to the person for as long as possible. I know the statistics say Gen Zs will stay in the jobs maybe 1 year, 1.5 years, at most 2. But they don't want to see you. Say, no, we're going to make them stay here 10 years.
Yeah, employees will seek out other things simply because of potential, and then as an employee, you will encourage them to develop themselves and see how they can help you in the long run. They can't do anything if employees leave, but what they can do is how they can mitigate that and make it such that the next person who comes in adds more value to the company based on the previous legacy work that's been done.
Okay, so we cannot hang on to the people, but we can make sure the next person who comes in builds on the values. The first one. That's a very good reframe. Curious, in the NES, the Entrepreneurship Society, do people not finish the program? Like maybe they drop out after a year, they drop out after 2 years.
I would say it's a huge issue in any organization, and it's also in NES, especially so when this is a student-led organization. The students will have priorities, academics, and job opportunities and whatnot. And ultimately, this is a volunteer-driven initiative and organization. So definitely there will be attrition. But what really drives to ensure that we still hit our event is succeeding when actually people are wanting to leave. In most cases, actually, people are responsible enough or held accountable enough to finish what they're here to do. But in cases whereby people they don't want to do stuff, we have to find other backup plans to do things. And one way is through doing the Romba system, whereby they're able to update the next person who's coming in on what's gonna happen. There always be motivated people looking to take on projects to do something they're proud of.
I can hear the resourcefulness because it's very easy for anyone to say, you're not going to finish with this, you are a traitor. It's very easy to lapse into that mindset because everyone who tells you, oh, I can't commit time anymore, it's easier for you to label them and say that, you are not committed. But that sense of accepting and understanding where people are coming from, what's important to them, and responding very strategically, knowing that, hey, there's a system that's not in place right now, the continuity system, how can we build it? How can we find the right people? How can we equip them with the resources so that they do really well in the projects? We do not expect people to stay here for all 4 years because life is so dynamic.
Yes.
How do you find the right people?
That's something I actually struggled with initially. Building this organization from the ground up, as I said, membership for me is there for 1 year. How I managed to get people on board was first, I need to understand their motivation. What's in it for them? And that's the way I really access people. Because the growth of the people is dependent on the growth of the organization. If our values and vision are aligned. Right? So by understanding people's motivations, is we find the right fit. With the right fit, we can assess the competency and capabilities, which I also feel can be trained on over time if they're committed to it. So that's how I found my people.
There's always that dialogue and understanding what motivates others and how well it gels with the vision. So you assemble
Yes.
a team of people whose vision for themselves and the vision for the society already aligns.
Yes.
Yes. And you are also realistic about this alignment can change anytime.
Yes.
And it is building that culture where it's okay to talk about this. Oh, this is not for me anymore. It's fine. And then it's a gracious separation. It's a very nice handover. And there's no
Yeah.
hard feelings in that sense.
Yes.
You're constantly then also building a brand for the
Mm.
society.
Mm.
The more people who understand the vision of the society and the
Mm.
kind of people you are looking for, the more you can
Mm.
attract them. I
Yeah.
like what you said. The growth of the organization depends on the growth of the people.
Yeah. And that's how it should be. Employees go to work, they find an employer. They are not only for the income, but to grow themselves personally and the career trajectory. And
Yeah.
I feel a good organization, a successful one that keeps on innovating, should encourage growth within employees. Because growth in employees translate to more opportunities available for their organization itself in the long run, the
Mm,
macro aspect.
understand. You interact with businesses, right? Because you are creating opportunities.
Mm.
It's a platform of opportunities. Has anyone ever told you, yeah, so young, what can you all do? And any kind of such interactions, how has it been like?
The youthness is used in a positive manner rather than negative manner.
Positive, good.
People be like, wow, you guys are doing this, right? That's how it is. And that is why organizations are so willing to support us, sponsor us, because they believe in the youth. And it's very rare to see led organizations that can perform professionally to a standard
Very rare.
that's comparable to industrial standards as well. In fact, in this world, many change makers are people who are very young. And they are there simply because they believe in their ideas and they're supported by adults who believe in their vision. And things are here to change as well as things get increasing dynamic.
Yes. So age isn't an issue if you're professional enough.
I feel ultimately it's what your relevance, your impact.
Yes. And your understanding of the value you bring, which
Yes.
means the way you communicate, your brand and position yourself are very important. If you want to be taken seriously, it is how we show up. And
Yes. And more importantly, the tangible things you can do, the impact.
yeah, impact. Wow. Can you tell us hackathon is done at NCS Group? Did you have to pitch for this to happen?
This is actually something I helped kickstart. Yes, this is one of the new things that I actually brought on board. This was a kind of an interesting story. So initially, this hackathon was actually started by a partner. Someone approached me from another company and they're interested in doing this new hackathon. So I brought this on board because it can increase our brand equity and it's something that we can also work on. It aligns with our vision because of the prestige of the hackathon. So initially, they really decided to collaborate and decided to bring the idea on board. And basically, we only had 3 months to do a planning and everything. That is just a very short amount of time. But over time, as things progresses, some things didn't work really well. In fact, there was a point whereby we couldn't really find sufficient sponsors to hold the event. So we're given two choices. Either we close this off completely or we actually postpone it, right? Both of which are not possible because the people who signed up to organize this, they wanted to get it done. Then I had to make a call of whether to actually continue this or basically just shut it down, right? And that's considering the efforts of people the past 2 months over past members. So we rebranded it and make it a student-led organization hackathon. So we didn't actually partner with them anymore. And then within just 10 days of rebranding, we attracted more than 150 participants. They actually paid for this thing and more than 10 sponsorships to actually make it a surplus so that we can fund this as cost neutral. I would say I'm very proud for this to happen. It deepens our brand equity.
So you do this because you want to deepen the brand equity.
Correct.
Yes.
Ultimately, it's for the community and the people who have worked hard on this. And that paid off, taking the leap of faith.
Yes.
And now we are actually budget neutral.
That's very good. Things in the end turn out
So
well.
not very.
The participants get the experience, the sponsors, you have even more sponsors than you expected, right? And it's budget neutral. Better than budget deficit. That's a good life experience. And that's where the experiential learning.
The things that you went through, it all builds up to something, right? Making
Yeah.
the best of the situation.
Yeah. What was your greatest learning from this?
From this, I would say it was at the point where I had to make a decision of whether to call it off based on rational reasons because of its huge budget deficit, or whether to continue it because of the effort that people have put in. And people have feedback to me that I'm a very people-centric leader, right? That is good. That may not be the best case for the organization, given that if this thing actually didn't turn out as the best it is, we actually be in a huge budget deficit for this event. The greatest learning point is really trusting a gut feel. When people talk about business, they always talk about this certain sense of gut feel that can't really be documented properly. And this is where I really feel it. Because I had to take a risk, I had to take a gamble and see how things go. At that point when I made a decision, it was really based on my belief that we can make this work. We just see what we can do. And that blind faith, that belief, the optimism in the times of hardship is what really drives things forward. Keep moving forward and drive success. And one thing that I want to quote, I don't know where you watched the movies, Rocky Bubble. It's about how hard life is, but it's how hard it hits and you keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And to have that mindset of the winner, no matter how tough the situation is, you gotta keep moving forward. And that's how you can see the light of the tunnel. Yeah, for me personally, I learned a lot through movies, films, animes, things like that. Living vicariously through others' experience.
That's good. Strengths do you see in your team that gave you the courage to take this risk? Yeah, agree. So it illustrates the point where not everything can be rationalized.
Yes.
Logic isn't the only thing that we must look at, right? The whole world is disrupted. The innovation that we need, the risk appetite that we need to also cultivate. You could do that this time because you have assembled the right team, and that is attributed to the hard work you have done before, right? So this is a good example, and I'm sure it's very real. I am 100% certain this is the experiential learning that will help you be ready for the real world. Definitely at this stage in your life, you are much, much more ready for the real world than I was when I was an undergrad. And I think I can see the value of it. Okay, I have 3 young kids. So when they become young adults like you, then I can understand why they want to do things the way they do, because it's exercising that proactive and the choices in creating the life that you want.
Yep.
Yeah, and building the skills needed through the right experiences.
Yeah. The world is changing, gotta adapt and really innovate to keep up.
Yeah. What qualities do you think leaders need today to be effective, especially when our organizations are multi-generational?
Of all this experience I've really talked about, one thing is certain is that really empathy, understanding people. I feel effective leadership stems from understanding the motivation of people and employees. And when motivation comes from within, they are able to provide much more value than their pay grade, what they hire for. They're able to go beyond. Because they believe in the cause, they believe in the company, they believe in the product. I think that applies to every generation. I think that is what drives people to succeed.
Yeah, truly understand what motivates them. Are there some questions you always ask to understand them?
Yes, one thing I look for is usually I ask about motivations. Why do you want to apply for this? What do you seek out of this? What is the end goal? But let's say I'm interviewing for someone who's going to be ahead of like city hackathon. Right? I'll ask him, why do you apply for this? And then they tell me their motivations. So tell them, what do you hope to achieve out of this? I think that's a slightly different question. Because what you hope to achieve drives the vision they want to see at the end. And I want to see whether that vision aligns with mine. And to see really what they want for themselves. So to further evaluate the person's personality or what he truly meant what to say, I'll ask about his or her previous involvement in other activities and understand the way of thinking, the motivation. So suppose this person has organized, let's say, a church camp before and whatnot, or understand the process of why the person did it, how they did it. And that is certain indicators to show this person truly meant what to say, if things are aligned with the narrative.
This is the kind of dialogue that is not happening in companies enough. there are certain organizations where the operating model is managers telling people what they need to achieve. There's no question like what's in it for you because you are paid. We will decide for you. So even from the questions you ask, they are 100% empathy driven to understand what makes people tick. Because of the questions, you are able to curate and make sure that you have chosen the right people. What's one advice you have for current and future leaders?
Really understanding people's motivation simply is because of my leadership style. But I feel really everything that we do, we're all trying to find a reason to do things. And really, to do great work, you need to have a strong reason. I don't think everyone has their purpose in life figured out. That's a very deep question. People may still be finding it. I think that's absolutely fine. More importantly, it's important for people to be transparent, to be honest. Right? If you're there just in it for the money, sure, so be it. But ensure that they have the competency and technical abilities to deliver what their job demands for them. I think work ethic is still plays a huge role, it's still very important. It's not simply just about people's motivation. Motivation can only get you so far. Right? But ultimately, having the right attitude, the right technical abilities to get where the company or organization is driving towards, that's still important as well.
Yeah. That's a very fair point. It's very practical as well.
Yes.
Everyone will have, the moment they are born, they got their purpose figured out. No.
Yeah.
I think I only figured out mine when I was in my 30s. Honestly. And that's okay. Let's say you want to hire somebody in the future and you ask them what's in it for you. I don't know. I just need the paycheck. I just need to pay off my student loan. Fine.
Yeah.
Right?
And important is whether they can deliver what you need for them. Setting the expectations from the very start.
Yes, and equipping them with the right skills. Yes, perfect. I learned so much from you today from this conversation. I hope to see you in real life one day. And I wish you all the best in your upcoming internship next year.
Thank you so much for having me on board this podcast. Really honored to be able to share some of the experience I have.